welcome to That Didn't Work.
That didn't work.
Welcome to Urban Stars. I'm your GM and your host, Percy.
And I'm Mike, and I'm playing a Nemoidian by the name of Udell Ilvi.
I'm Daniel. I'm playing a human by the name of Caltane.
Howdy, I'm Rick, and I'll be playing a Verpine named K'Klik.
And I'm Jason, playing a human named Lukia, also known as Zerial Benassi Denduptaniel.
Welcome back to Urban Stars. When last we met the heroes of the Rusty Sea Bucket, they had crash landed on a strange planet full of, it looked like technological ruins. They hadn't had a chance to really explore, and I think sort of Lost in Space style, we're going to keep it that way a little bit, in a sense that, like, you guys have spent the last week getting your bearings of what's immediately around you. While all this is going on, while they were hurtling through space in the backside of a giant sea squid, or space squid, Caltane was on Terrace still, being interrogated by former colleagues of his in the Storm Commandos. He was injected with some sort of eyeball bomb and sent back to basically spy on the Resistance for the Storm Commandos. So we'll kind of see how both of those stories play out over this next little story arc. I'm really excited for where we're going to go. But we're also, just so that listeners are kind of prepared for what's going on, you'll probably have heard it in the last episode, but we'll have some transitional music that'll kind of guide us into when our characters are shifting, because everybody at the table is going to play a character during each type of scene, and I want to make sure that that's like super clear as we're moving into one and out of another. Like, this is a time that you should be listening for voice changes and stuff, so that you know, like, Rick's not K'Klik anymore. He is now the demolition expert for the Storm Commandos. Yeah, he will have in fact reached puberty, and his voice will grow deeper and more sultry. But with all of that being said, we're going to slip right on in. You people are the worst people.
You said it.
Welcome to the game of innuendo.
Innuendo.
Oh yeah.
Somewhere in here there's a "that's what she said" joke. So,
No, Lando makes the innuendo jokes. Come on. Keep it Star Wars, people. Keep it Star Wars.
As you rest, middle of the night on this strange planet, Lukia has a strange dream. This is playing off of the triumph you rolled at the end of the last session. The dream's very familiar, deja vu style. You've been here before. You actually, for the first time in the last week, are recognizing that you've been literally here before. You feel like you've been on this planet before. And as you sit with your knees on the ground, meditating and contemplating a position you haven't been in years, you look to your left, and a figure with a darkened face, almost as if a veil is over her face, but the ornate headdress of a Togruta, very clear in the light, looks to you, and you can tell that she's smiling, but you can't see her face still. And you don't hear the voice, but you know that she's just asked, "Are you ready?"
I kind of reach out with my senses. Not, I don't have the sense power, but
Sure.
basically just kind of reach out with the feeling and kind of just acknowledge that I have kind of heard this, and just kind of solemnly nod my head. Don't make any like vocal command, just yes.
Okay. She stands up and holds out her hand for you to grab.
I kind of get up off of, like, more into a kneeling position and take her hand.
You realize as you get into this position that you are, it feels strange. You're much smaller than you used to be. And as you reach your hand up, you actually see it for the first time in this dream, and it's the hand of a little girl. It's you as a younger person, but it's kind of your younger body, but you're in your own mind. You're thinking as adult Lukia. Again, you don't hear the voice, but she says, "Follow me, Zerial." And it's like you didn't hear it, but you know that that's what the figure said. And you guys walk for a moment, and you realize that this is a vision that played out for you years and years ago, when you were playing and training with one of the Jedi who had come to visit you on Onderon, which we had kind of gotten into a couple of episodes ago.
So just real quick, I'm going to fight the urge to look back to see if if my physical body is still in that same position as we get to walk away.
Okay, go ahead and roll a discipline check.
Okay.
It's going to be average.
Average?
Mm-hmm.
Two threat is all.
You turn to look, and you don't see your body, but you do see kind of a pile of bodies. In that pile, you see your mother. You see your friends from the old swoop gang you used to run with. You even see faces like Udel's and your father. You see just a pile of basically people that you're leaving behind as you walk forward into this kind of tech temple. You continue walking, and we'll illustrate that with being too strained.
The mental fatigue.
Mechanical, yeah. You continue walking with this Togruta, and you come into a chamber, and you see 4 swords on pedestals. 3 swords on pedestals. One sword is red.
Like crimson red or like
cardinal red.
Okay.
One sword is red, one is blue like the sky, and one is green like almost an olive with a sort of sheen to it.
I would Lukia would kind of reach out and kind of evaluate them maybe for a minute.
Okay.
And just kind of look at balance length, because she's a sword fighter by nature, so she's going to evaluate the weapons before picking one up. But based off the descriptions alone, probably go for the green one with the extra sheen.
Okay. You feel the figure behind you watching you. You know that you've been through some sort of training of kind of discerning wisdom and things like that, and you've come to this chamber, and you hear her kind of saying to you, like, where are we? You get the sense that she has kind of joined this vision with you, and you aren't really sure yourself where you are. The exercise that you had been participating in was kind of like, hey, let's go to a space that helps you to find wisdom, and in the process of focusing, you two both wound up here. As you're kind of picking up each weapon and looking at it and kind of testing the balance of it, you get a sense from the red sword that it's some kind of prototypical marvel of some sort. It's got some sort of special utility that's very technical, and there are a lot of different layers to it that would make it extremely valuable. As you pick up the blue sword, you get a similar sense, but you also get a kind of sense that this sword can in some way act on its own, that it sort of has a modular AI of some kind attached to it, as it were. And as you're kind of testing the green sword, it feels smooth and almost like an extension of you, even as you're using it. It doesn't have as much frill and pomp as the other two do, but it feels very comfortable, and like its utility is found in what you can make of it, not necessarily what it directly is.
And that's why she would select that one.
Sure. And so as you're looking at these and you've picked up this sword, the visage of this individual clears, and you see standing in front of you, and I'm not going to try to do her voice because I don't think I could do it justice, but you do see standing in front of you your old friend and almost mentor, Ahsoka Tano. And it looks as if she has kind of awoken from some sort of stupor. This is no longer the vision that you had. You're now adult Lukia.
Mm-hmm.
And you're standing in front of her.
A single kind of tear just from the joy. It's been 10 long years. It's like that moment of like intense, just deep-seated, like long lost memory comes back, and there's like, she starts, it's just one tear at first, but then it turns into that kind of like open weeping, but it's more from happiness than from like sadness or loss. You kind of,
sure,
yeah.
She kneels down next to you and is kind of silently examining, and says, "Why are you here?"
I honestly don't know. We were lost. This is the first habitable planet we found after I don't even know how to describe it, it would take time to tell, but basically, for long story short, we crash landed here. I have no idea where we are. We're just managing to scrape by. Our engineers working on the ship day and night. I don't know what else to say.
This is too dangerous a place for a princess.
Princess or not, there's been a lot of changes for me.
These swords used to represent something to you when we would visit.
They still do.
I think they represent something different now. All who are lost come here and make a choice. That choice is never good. That choice never brings joy. It'll bring help, but also pain. I just hope you make the right one. And with that, she kind of vanishes into a dust and waves at you. You can tell that this is a cognizant sort of dream that she was sharing with you, almost like in her meditation, she wound up back here with you. And she vanishes, and kind of all around you, this whole dream begins to kind of fizzle out, and you wake up calmly, not like in a startled state, but it's the morning, and you are on this strange planet, surrounded by strange jungle and ruined technological terrain. Kuklik, you're probably already working on the ship. You probably wake up very early and do some work, even while it's still in the dark, feverishly trying to repair hyperdrives and get this thing floatable again. I think in the night you probably have encountered a few creatures here and there that you would know to be kind of native to specific areas. And even some, not that they've like fought with you or anything. For the most part, they've been very harmless. And if anything harmful did come by, you probably took cover in the ship because you're being ultra careful. But a lot of them would have been things that you know would fetch kind of a high price. Like they've either got like really expensive organs or furs or teeth, or like something is unique about a lot of them that would fetch a high price on like a black market type scape.
Okay.
So you get the sense that there's not a whole lot of sentient life on the planet that is native to the planet, or at least you haven't seen anything that is unique to this specific space.
But we have no idea.
But you haven't explored or anything. Like, you haven't mapped the stars or anything yet. I'll say this: like, you can make an astrogation check.
That's one of the first things I would have done.
To have tried to kind of make some of that out if you would like to. The astrogation check is going to be hard. 3 purples. Hang on.
I rolled and I got no success, but 1 advantage.
1 advantage, okay. So you're not able to recognize where you are. Basically, the star maps that you have, wherever you are, doesn't exist on them. That'll be kind of your advantage, is that you do recognize the stars that are around you. You've been able to kind of pinpoint some planets, but you're like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, the distance from there to here, there's nothing here.
Oh, so I would actually have an idea.
Yeah, you're able to find out kind of,
What
and
quadrant
that's
or
yeah,
something
and that's
like
that's
that?
your advantage, is like you do recognize some star patterns, and kind of the positions that they're in the sky. Like, in a rough, like, probably billions of mile radius where you should be, and there's nothing there.
Okay.
There's not a sector. There's not a system.
There's not supposed to be anything.
Yeah, whatever sun you're orbiting around is some lonely star that nobody's even named.
Now, are there other planets in the system, or
You
is
have
it
no
just...
idea.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing on the chart.
Yeah, you don't have a telescope
if-
to identify that, so
Okay.
you're
Yeah.
just your relative positioning, basically.
Yeah, you're not close enough. Like, maybe you did see another planet, like something that was a
there
body that
moons?
was close enough. Yes, there are moons.
Okay.
Like, you probably saw a body that was close enough that you're like, oh, that's a planet. Maybe I can figure out what that is, and you maybe had a hunch for what it is, but then no, that's not as close to this star structure. So, like, you legitimately, like, you're in space, but you know that this is an uncharted area.
Okay.
Basically, like, that's what your advantage is. You know it's uncharted.
And there's unusual animals here that I
Yes.
recognize.
Yes.
Some of them. Okay.
I didn't come up with a list, so don't ask me what.
I'm not going to. Just the fact that I would recognize some of them.
Yes.
And I've noticed I haven't seen many predators, though. Most of the ones I've seen have been pretty innocuous.
Yeah, like, you've seen a Nexu here and there, and you've just kind of huddled into the ship, waited for it to pass, and then got back out and started working again.
Okay. All right, and the buildings and things. Now, we would have probably sat down in a little bit of a remote area, away from. Because when we were coming in, we saw a lot of ruins.
Well, you kind of got you landed in a pretty clear spot. There is jungle surrounding you because there's jungle everywhere, but like you're in a spot where you can kind of see, maybe you're on the side of a hill, so that you have some field of vision, so you're not totally like fish out of water out in the open.
Okay. I would probably take my, binoculars and try to scan as far as buildings, if I can make out any idea what kind of structures or what kind of civilization might have built them, or from the jungle growth and all that, how old or how long it's been determined, and the level of sophistication, for technological, how technologically
Okay.
advanced were these buildings built.
Go ahead and roll a perception check with a boost for your binoculars.
What's the difficulty?
Difficulty is going to be, say, average. That's fine.
Okay. I got 2 success and
3 advantage.
3 advantage.
Okay. So as you're kind of peering out, you can tell that none of this is like modern, or if it is, it's kind of like like it's not something you recognize
Right.
at all. You can obviously like, oh, there's walls and a roof, but beyond that, it's like the style is not contiguous to any particular species that you know. It's not a currently used style in rich or poor areas that you've seen. So it's it's not primitive. It's very technologically sound and advanced, but for whatever reason, it's not recognizable to you. So you've kind of built this profile of, okay, we're nowhere, where nothing has made all these fantastic buildings. And this is kind of coupling. I think your advantage lets you put the kind of some pieces together to say, like, okay, well, like this vision that I had on the Rogue Moon with this weird alien with this sword kind of points to a similar, like, the structure of that room, what I could remember of it, like, I could see that style being portrayed here.
Almost like a technological medieval.
Yeah, exactly. That's
style
kind
of
of,
the
you kind of
impression that I
pair that impression together. That's kind of the feel that you get from this.
Can I tell if how large the settlement is, the closest settlement is? Would it have been like a major city, or would it have been a small settlement or an outpost?
Because of the amount of overgrowth over the entire planet, there's no
Fair
way
enough.
for you to be able to tell. Like you see, like, oh, there's a settlement here, and then a couple miles away there's one here, but it could mean that the city is miles wide, and there's just so much overgrowth that it's separated the two areas.
So I'm going to make a query, not to you, the player, but more to Kuklik, and this isn't. I guess this is kind of from Lukia. It's like, doesn't this kind of remind you of the moon? And then I kind of point to the battery, like, doesn't this line up? Like, the power cell's still in our cargo bay.
Right.
So I would point more from a technological. Is that something that maybe you would pick up on?
Is it?
More, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think you don't have enough information to know if, like, the battery is related, because you don't know really, like, what kind of technology is here. You just can tell that it's not, like, raw and, like, prehistoric, basically.
I do not know. I believe that to be Rakatan technology. There's not enough information to be able to tell me what kind of technology we are dealing with here.
So should we go search the ruins?
So
I would love
think-
to, but I'd like to get the ship at least functioning. You know, it would be great if I could planetary pilot the ship, even if we can't hyperspace the ship.
Sure. So let's shift over to Udell real quick. Udell, you, in the process of landing this ship, lost your sight entirely. I think, where do you think Udell would be kind of during this week? Would he have, like, wandered off?
Not at all.
Using his eyes for the only thing they're good for, crying?
I don't think he would have wandered off at all. I think,
Okay.
as a matter of fact, he'd probably be more... He's going to be a lot more solitude at this point.
Okay.
But he would not wander from the ship at all.
Okay.
I mean, that's at this point, that's the only thing he knows. And even then, it's so new that he really doesn't know it.
Yeah, so you're kind of tripping over yourself, sticking to
Right.
your whatever.
And especially with all the
sleeping
damage and
quarters.
things that are, happening. So he's pretty much sticking to the sleeping quarters, and he's pretty depressed at the moment.
Yeah, so I think.
Can't see my Sabat cards.
But I can feel the pips on the dice. Hey. So I think Udell probably needs to make some sort of discipline check, or we need to have like a scene of being inside of Udell's head.
Okay.
I think either
Is that safe?
he needs to be having a. Yeah. I think either we need to find a way to have a conversation about what Udell's really thinking and how he's processing what's going on, even if it's just like a brief couple of rolls. But I think he's been, from episode 1, dealt crap hand after crap hand after crap hand after crap hand,
Well,
with one exception.
His hands have been good.
He's had a few highs and lows. He
has, but for the most part, when trouble comes, it comes for Udell Ilvey.
He needs to stick to cards and stay away from the dice.
I mean, just kind of, when I think about Udell's story, I think about he was dropped off by his people, marooned here on Terrace.
Well, he's not here on Terrace.
Well, yeah, marooned on Terrace. Then he made this friend in Norris who helped him gamble a little bit, and then when push came to shove, it was a bad deal. And not only did he get several like bookies after him, and that's like his key obligation, but also Norris wasn't really a friend. He wound up obliterating your rib cage.
Pretty much.
And kind of in all this process, like you got your face ripped open in the intro story arc by your now inexplicable mentor.
For those of you just joining the channel,
Yeah.
these are spoiler alerts.
Hey, listen, you're in episode 24 territory. If you haven't gone back to listen, that's not my fault. So like it's just kind of like Udell's got this piled up history of like, okay, I got craft on, I can't trust anybody, let's learn how to fight. Okay, now I can't see what's going on in his head.
Well, I mean, the reality is it's very hard to come back with a straight up answer. I mean, Udell is, if you were to kind of slice into his brain at this point,
Can we?
all he's doing, he would be replaying every single one of those scenarios, and he'd know that at every single point in the time he had a chance to second guess or change what would have happened, and he always chose what he thought was the quickest, easiest, fastest way out of the situation.
Okay.
And he's now starting to he's now kind of wrapped up in the fact that he's struggling to come to grips with really who he is at this point, because who he has been hasn't worked. It looks like he's on course for jumping off of a cliff at some point in time.
Yeah. So
And right now it's just he's looking at life as if life's a train wreck.
okay. I think at that point, like, let's go ahead and make that discipline check. And I'm gonna have it be I can't remember what 4 purple dice is, but it's that one.
Formidable?
Daunting.
Okay, so with this one, do I have to do the 2 upgrades that I'm supposed to do because
Yes.
of blinded?
Yes. Every check is upgraded twice.
That's what I thought.
Oh my gosh. It's daunting.
Do you want
upgraded?
to? Do you want to upgrade your end of
No,
the check?
I think I'm all right. This will be what
I think
it
I'm
is.
gonna upgrade my end of the check.
All right.
I'm just trying to give you guys more life.
I know, because how much worse could it get?
So there's 3, 4, 5. Let's just say there's a whole lot of fail, and I end up with 1 threat.
No despairs though.
No despairs.
That's actually pretty good.
All right.
Give them a roll.
So as you're kind of sitting despondently in this this cabinet, and you're at one of those points where it's like it wouldn't take much for me to just wander off a cliff, and actually right now that's not sounding like the worst idea. You get a voice in your head that is sort of beckoning you, and it promises you, like, if you just walk forward, I will lead you to a new site. And because of your discipline roll,
I'm walking forward.
you're walking forward. You're
Into the wall.
you're convinced that whatever this is better than what you're doing. Maybe you don't believe that, like, this thing, whatever this is, can't give me new eyes, but it's better than sitting in my room.
Yeah. And I think as he would walk out, you just see his Mark Sabic deck just laying on the floor.
So I think, yeah, you walk, you successfully, you're listening to this voice, and you're walking. You take the left turns. When you take the left turns, you open the door on the ship. You, like, punch in the right code. Like, whatever it is leading you exactly the way it needs to, and it's kind of proved to you that it can. At this point, it kind of tells you when to take a step, how far to take a step, when to stop, when to slow down, and you're getting a sense that, yeah, this thing is leading you somewhere. Frank, you are wandering through the hall of the ship. You've just awoken. You saw Lukia getting whatever breakfast you guys have, whether it's foraged at this point or if you had enough rations to last. And you walk by Udel's room and you notice that he's not there for the first time in a week. And you notice his sabacc deck sitting on the ground, which you knew to be as... Frank pockets the sabacc deck. He doesn't need it anymore.
He can't play.
And
I can finally beat him.
You notice it on the ground, and it's not even in like its box. It's like the cards are kind of flopped around the ground, like they've just been dropped and forgotten. And you notice that the door to the ship is left open, which you guys have like agreed is a bad idea on a strange planet. And so you get the sense that Udel has walked off, but he can't have been gone long because you did see him earlier this morning.
I'm going to, without telling anyone else,
Is he the only one that can talk to him, too?
begin to track him and try and follow where he
Without
went.
telling anyone else?
Yeah.
Without telling it, he
Yeah.
is specifically
Yeah.
said,
Totally outside
myself.
Yeah.
of, you know...
Yeah.
There's a Wookiee pee in the forest? Yes.
So
I mean,
you
it is
begin
what the
tracking.
Wookiee would do.
Go ahead and roll a.
He just walk off.
Go ahead and roll a survival check to do the tracking. I'm gonna make it. I'm gonna make it 3 purples, and I think for you that's like 2 greens.
Okay.
Don't worry, I got you, bud.
That's no success or fail.
Threat?
But that's one
One's a
threat.
Okay. You are trying your best to track a blind Nemoidian,
Okay.
which doesn't seem like it should be the hardest thing to do.
Just tripping
But
over
you
stuff,
are-
breaking branches.
You are struggling. You do pick up something else, though. You see large, and I mean large tracks that are leading away from your ship and then eventually stop. And you're going to take strain as you hear...
How far am I from the ship? At this point?
You're a pretty good distance. You're yelling distance,
Okay.
but not like right next to it.
Okay.
You hear breathing, deep breaths of a very large and looming being who had blended into the tree trunks that you would have seen had your tracking not been so horrible. And you kind of slowly, dramatically look up, and you see the biggest rancor you've ever seen towering over you.
Frantically reach for my bowcaster.
Okay. Do you say anything? Howl out? Do you notify anybody else? That
No, I'm in shock.
Okay,
My automatic
okay.
reaction is to fight, and
Okay.
as a Wookiee, and I see something, and try to defend myself automatically.
Okay. So you pull out the bowcaster and you let off a shot.
Sure.
Okay. Go ahead and roll that out.
Would anybody have noticed either the Wookiee or Udel leaving the ship?
I don't think Udel, but Kiklik, you probably saw him leave. You're probably on top of the ship right now.
Okay. And I could follow with my macro binoculars.
Sure,
To
but are you
about
just sitting
2
on top of the ship watching him? Like, what's he doing? Is that a rancor? Why is he getting so close?
I would get on my comm, but I'll let him roll his dice.
All right, how much damage do you deal to this rancor?
10.
10 damage? Wow. And
Yeah.
is that with the bowcaster damage added in?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any effects?
I don't know.
We're not going to let the Wookiee win here.
Okay. All right, I do see
Insta kill.
I see a triumph over there. So let's go ahead and I guess do you want to crit the Rancor?
Sure.
Okay, roll it up.
12.
He tickled it.
The Rancor drops whatever's in its hand. It's not holding anything. It's a Rancor.
Maybe a tree trunk.
Maybe.
I like shoot its tail off.
Yeah, so you shoot it. You shoot it, and it roars a mighty, loud, guttural roar. So, Kuklik, you would hear that.
Right, and I would have seen him. I wouldn't have seen the Rancor though because it's in the jungle, I guess.
Yeah,
Or-
but
okay.
you
I saw Frank
definitely hear it.
Okay, before I would, if I saw him walking off before he got there, I would have contacted. I would have called into the ship. Guys, is anybody reading me? Frank has walked off into the woods for some reason, into the jungle. What is with these Wookiees? I don't know where he's going. Does anybody have any idea?
I'm just eating breakfast. I don't know what's going on. Why? What's going on?
I don't know. He just walked into the woods. He just left.
And I'll say that's when you hear the roar.
Do I hear that as well from inside the ship?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, what was that?
It's a lot of hurt. Going to Frank. The Rancor roars and reaches down its large, massive hand. Like when you think of Rancors, you think of the thing in Jabba's palace. This thing is twice that size. It's enormous. It grabs a hold of Frank, and by its level, he crits. So I'm gonna go ahead and just narrate that's going on. Frank, you take a big whopping like 14 damage here.
Okay.
And it grabs you by an arm and puts its hand on your head. Like it kind of grabs the arm that's holding the bowcaster and pushes you and rips the arm straight off your body.
Awesome.
And you fall right on your keister.
Yeah.
Roll some initiative or something. Everybody else should. I think Kuklik, you should roll, just for the sake of like finding a way to do like safety. Lukia, would you come out of the ship?
Is our ship going to be able to withstand this thing?
That's a great question. I think your ship has a better chance than you do.
I agree.
So go ahead and roll some vigilance if you want to participate.
Or just die. I could do that too. Vigilance. Two and two.
Frank, what'd you roll?
We're gonna say 2 and 1.
And Lukia, are you rolling in?
I am, but I've got rapid reaction, so I'm just taking some strain to add to the.
Okay, cool.
So just doing that before I roll, just to mark that down. 5 and 1.
Wowzers. All right, so player turn is first at this point. Who wants to go?
Probably Frank should go if he hasn't already went yet.
He probably went right as soon as he saw it.
It's a good thing Wookiees.
We
don't
just
wear
answered the
clothes.
question. Do Wookiees pee in the forest?
Well, what color was his fur, if we all remember?
He wore his brown pants.
I'm always wearing my brown pants.
It was dog poop brown.
Anyway, so what does Frank do?
Screams very loudly.
Let me hear that.
I think that's a reasonable response to having your arm ripped off.
That's the
Wowzers.
Rip headphone users.
All right. Do you just scream? Do you try to run?
yeah.
Okay.
Turn around and start running, booking it.
All right.
Frank's a brave guy, but he's not that brave.
He just lost an arm
Yeah.
to something much larger than it.
So I would say you are probably a long range away from the ship, so it's going to take you 4 maneuvers to get back.
Okay.
So you can make 2 of those right now.
Was
For
he able to
sure.
grab his arm?
I think the Rancor's got that under control. He's got a new toothpick.
Bowcaster makes a great toothpick.
Bowcaster does. It does. It really gets in there. Like almost like if you're at a dentist's office and they start poking you with that sharp thing. You just doom, doom, doom.
the Sonic toothbrush.
Yes.
thing, yeah.
Exactly.
So quick question for
Yes.
Kuklik and or GM.
Okay.
Is the dorsal ion cannon still operational?
Yeah.
That's where Luke is going to
Yeah,
go.
like I said, I don't care about the weapons. I wanted to break the hyperdrive.
So, yeah, Lukia basically hearing that Rancor, like, that sounds large. Probably going to need the ship's guns.
Okay. So he takes off. So you'll be able to move there. The next turn is the Rancors.
Okay.
And he is going to run after Frank, who breaks through the tree line coming toward the ship just in time to see this massive Rancor. Like you're on top of the ship watching, like, what's going on over there? You heard the bowcaster, you heard the Rancor scream, you heard the Wookiee scream, and then breaking through the tree line coming toward the ship, Frank is running, bleeding out through his right arm and running with his left. It's quite a shocking sight, and then this absolutely gigantic Rancor leaps out of the trees after him and grabs at him again. So that's going to be another 14 damage, and he is going to crit again. This time no triumph, it's just a normal little crit. So let's roll those d10s wherever they went.
And we've got to add 10
And
to it?
we're gonna add 50 to it.
Oh.
But these bad boys are lethal. Believe it.
50?
Well, I rolled the 0 count as a 10 or a 1 or a 0.
0.
It depends. Is there another 0-0?
No, it's just 0.
Then it's a 0.
Okay, then that's 70.
70. So 120 is gonna be blinded.
How
I
good
got
do-
you, man.
How good does
Rancor-
this Sabak deck look now?
The Rancor
It's the
is
Sobek deck's fault.
It
That's
is.
It's
a
a curse. It's the curse deck.
It charges after you, reaching its hand that's not holding your other arm, and grabs you by the
Beats you
head
with your arm.
and squeezes in. You've taken a massive amount of damage. Frank is very unconscious, and the Rancor presses its fingertips into. It probably only takes one finger to crush the Wookiee's eyes.
Okay,
And it is still charging toward the ship, now carrying Frank by the skull.
nice.
Bowl them into it.
Guys, help.
Player turn.
I'll jump into the dorsal ion cannon.
Okay, and do you shoot?
Uh,
You've definitely got enough time.
Okay. Then, yes, I will make an attempt at shoot.
Okay.
Gunnery, correct?
Yes, sir.
At what difficulty?
I mean, he's definitely smaller than your ship, so hard. Well, let's
Might
take a
not
peek.
be small.
I don't
Yeah.
think. No, he's definitely like a regular Rancor is silhouette like 2, right, or 3, and this thing's bigger than that. So I think it's equal.
This is
Okay.
a 4. Silhouette
Yeah,
4, the ship.
yeah. The ship is silhouette 4. I think he's equal to your ship.
All right. So
That's
we'll
what
just
concerns me.
we'll just go
Yes.
average.
Yeah.
I'll upgrade.
Okay.
So flip one over.
Yep.
Are you gonna upgrade as
I'm
well?
not.
Okay.
I've done what I wanted to do. I've obliterated the Wookiee.
The Wookiee did not win this round.
Poor Frank.
Ooh. Oh boy. What's the damage on that ion? I know it's ion, so it's more stun than anything.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, an ion to a flesh is reduced automatically to 1. Because it's not a stun weapon. It's
Yeah.
Oh, is
an
it?
electrical charge type.
Yeah.
It's damage 5, critical 4.
But it damages strain, though, right?
Well, it does electrical.
Well, I guess this would be a GM ruling on this.
It overloads electrical circuits.
your brain's electrical, so I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
So,
electricity can still kill someone.
It's two success and one advantage. Is
Okay,
what I was
cool.
left with. So
I'll say you hit the Rancor and it.
Maybe stun. Maybe it would do stun type damage.
well, that's what I was asking. That's why would it be?
I think it doesn't go down regardless. The amount of damage you were able to do is.
I
Not
don't
enough
expect
to
it, but at least it's
topple it. Because it is so big, it'll kind of operate, at least in this moment, on that sort of planetary scale. So you hit it pretty good, but it still charges directly at the ship. Click. What do you do? You're the only
Godzilla.
one. You're the only one outside of the ship.
I
right now.
noticed that. I'm taking strain to get an extra maneuver, and I am going to slide off the ship and into the doorway. If I can make it to the pilot's seat, I'm going to attempt to make it to the pilot's seat and close the door.
Okay. Sliding down, one maneuver. Running into the pilot's seat, second maneuver.
Okay.
Which is what you're spinning the strain to do. I think let's do a cool check to keep kind of your wits about you at this point, because you just witnessed a very gruesome act. Like, we laughed about it, ha ha ha, thing on paper got its eyes blown out, but your character would not feel that way, I don't think. It just watched the strongest crew member of its party lose an arm and its eyeballs.
Yeah, I watched Frank get disarmed.
So, which he threatened to do many times.
Those Purgos or whatever they were called.
Purgils,
the
yeah.
Purgils.
Man.
So I think you need to make a cool check, and it's going to be 3 reds.
This is karma.
Now with the spirits involved, I almost don't want to roll.
Here, you need some more red dice. I got some more red dice.
Yeah, you'd like that, wouldn't you?
I would.
This is karma for all the other arms I've ripped off.
It's the Savick deck of many things.
of
I
many
failed
ill
with
things.
one threat.
Okay, so you'll definitely take a strain as you kind of slide in the cockpit. You're kind of frantically looking for which buttons to hit, and you barely manage to close the door, let alone activate the ship. So the ship does not activate. You close the door, though, and we'll circle back to player turn.
I'll fire off another shot.
Okay.
Still 2. Purple.
Yes. I think actually give it a setback too. This thing is far closer than ships normally are to fire at, and it's kind of getting to the point where it would maybe be under your firing arc.
Makes sense.
But it's so tall.
But this is a dorsal gun, so I would literally be shooting into the ship. So all I could maybe hit is, it's like, I understand the setback. It makes sense.
Yeah. It's not a guarantee that it's out of range, but it, like, with it charging, it may be hunched over just enough for it to, like, whiz over its head.
Well, I'm successful, but
Good.
a lot of threat.
Boy, that Rancor sure makes funny noises.
A success and 2 threat is what we're left with.
Okay.
As I hit the Rancor and it makes a funny noise.
That was my straw on the bottom of the cup.
Keep telling yourself that, Rick. Keep
Tell
telling yourself.
yourself that.
All right.
All of our listeners won't. Anyway.
All right. Yeah, you hit it again, and it's enough to make it mad. It's kind of how that goes down. And it gets to the ship, and it's actually going to attempt to flip the ship.
With Frank and the bowcaster in each hand.
Oh, he drops you at this point. Yeah, you shot him twice.
Good.
He tosses you to the ground. You're still very much unconscious and losing a lot of blood. And he comes up to the ship, and he's going to kind of get his hands underneath it and try to basically toss it. He's got to do a lot of work for it. In fact, I'll make him flip a dark side point to even be able to try. Does anybody have another red die that I can
Yes.
borrow? Does anybody want to give me more difficulty? Just to make it even Stevens. All right, a lot of things just happened.
I see a lot of despair.
Yeah.
Is it enough, though? Is it enough despair?
Well, that's up to you.
Is it, though?
I think he breaks a nail when he does this.
Yeah, I'm hoping he doesn't nail the ship.
All right, he definitely succeeds at tossing the ship.
But he has to suffer.
He's got two
But he
despairs.
drops it on top of him.
No. I think you guys both need to make a
Coordination.
check. I think survival. Maybe. Survival
Well,
is more like foraging.
I'm
Yeah.
in the captain's seat.
You
now, so
are,
I'd be.
but you're not strapped in. You
No.
win it. You failed your cool check.
No.
I would think it'd be
So you're not. You didn't take care of everything you needed to do. In other words, so I think
Coordination or athletics?
coordination or athletics.
coordination or athletics makes sense. Yeah, I think you're both in chairs in some way. You're able to brace yourself if you want to use either of those two.
Athletics for me.
It's going to be a hard check as the ship flips end over end through the air.
Well, I failed with 2 advantage.
Okay.
Wash with 2 advantage.
Okay, so you both get 2 advantage. That's great. Congratulations. You don't die.
Can I heal strain?
You can. You can heal strain somehow. You're not going to take any like wounds, but you're very, very disoriented, and you're both going to take an automatic upgrade to the difficulty of your next check, as you've been kind of tossed to and fro in the ship. Like you kind of hold your hand out, and like you fail at like maintaining composure, but you don't like take wounds for it. You just basically lose your entire bearing of what's going on.
Trip
Now,
and fall into it.
I have an
Stim
idea
pack.
for the despair. If you,
Yeah, you can shoot me your idea for one of them. I got 2.
no, I understand. Is the fact that I was trying to fire up the ship. That the despair is when he tossed me that I was able to hit the controls to fire the engines, which happened to, in him tossing, point straight at him. And he takes the blast from
Okay,
the,
I like that actually. Oh, wait, the engines are pointing at him?
when he's tossing it, that it fires it up almost the same time, and it spins the ship enough that he takes the full brunt of the engines firing up.
I'll take that and twist it for both the despairs, that he flips you into the air, but he does it haphazardly. Where like one arm did it a little bit stronger than the other, so you're not flipping in a straight line, and the ship kind of does like a back flip or a side flip, and then kind of spins a little bit to where it's pointing almost at him, and in the process of you floating in the air, your hand hit the ignition button, and the ship ignites and going speed 1, which is still very fast for a planetary vessel, launches itself directly into the Rancor, crushing it.
Okay.
That's 2 despairs, man.
No, right.
And also, you wouldn't survive any other way. So there's also that.
Do I kill him or stun him?
Oh, he's dead. He's he's
so
crushed.
Click is
got
now
through
the
him.
strongest person in the party.
I am Spartacus.
Which one is? I got 2 yellows.
You want to mess with me? I took
get
down a
it.
Rancor.
I'm the best pilot in the galaxy.
But in the process of that, I think Frank is also underneath the ship, because the Rancor had dropped him right next to. He didn't have a chance of survival anyway.
Oh, Frank.
But Frank is very gone.
Not only did I kill the Rancor, I was able to bury Frank at the same
I
time.
didn't even get last words.
I mean, you did scream very loudly.
Your last words were,
Listen, Jacob, our audience will remember the ear bleed you gave them for forever.
Press F to pay respects.
Yes.
So, that's right.
Everyone at home watching right now, on your keyboard, press F.
So that went down, and let's make a quick shift because I don't want to give him no attention in this episode.
yeah, but the kind of attention he's going to get might not be good attention.
Let's shift over to Cal Tame. And Cal, I wrote things for everybody else today, but I didn't write anything for you because I want to know what you're doing. You got released by your quote friends.
Mm-hmm.
Where's Cal's headspace? Is he legitimately spying for the Storm Commandos now? What's going on with him?
So as of right now, he doesn't see that he has another choice because he doesn't know if it's just an explosive or tracking. He doesn't know what's going on right there. All he knows is that if he goes against their wishes, they could blow it, but doesn't mean it's not tracking or anything. So he doesn't know exactly what he can do at the moment with that. So, but all he knows right now is that there is firing going on all around him, and that
so it's been a week. I'll say that.
It's been a week.
We're following the same timeline.
Okay.
That's going on with the other characters. So it's been a week since you were kind of injected with this. Like we're not going to do the whole scene of like you walking back with the people that saved you. You're kind of back in the base, the hideout.
And I gave that lieutenant a pretty good.
You thrashed him real
yeah.
good. He will remember you forever. So like now that you kind of sorry, I should have made that more clear moving into your area, that it's been about a week since those encounters.
Okay.
So where is your headspace at, and I'll kind of determine what it is I'll have you be doing right now based on kind of that.
Well, as of right now,
response.
what he had told them is that most of the time he spends his time at a certain bar, and that he's just a hired gun. People come up to him, so he's going to try to play that off as he's going to go to that bar that he told them that he goes to.
Is that the Bothan's Regret?
Bothan's Regret was the one that
Bothan's Regret is the one you were interrogated in.
No, it wasn't. Was it Bothan's Regret though?
Yeah.
No.
Well, no, I'm not talking about where I was interrogated, but like.
Yeah. That's what I'm asking you. Is what's the tavern, the cantina that you tend to frequent? I don't think we had a name for it yet.
Oh, the Rabid Wombat.
Rabid Wombat.
There we go.
I'll say Rabid Womprat.
Womprat.
Because I don't know that wombats exist in this universe.
But Womprats do, and it's close enough.
Exactly.
Did you shoot them with your T16 back home?
Yeah.
It's a bullseye every time.
That's the name of their drink.
As of right now, he's
the
playing.
T16.
He's playing a little bit cautious. He's a little bit more skeptical with the people that come up to him because he doesn't want to give out false information or, he doesn't want to like give anything away. He's still trying to be the spy, but yet not a spy. Does that make sense? But yeah, no, he's at the.
So he's kind of trying to play off like. Has he distanced himself from the resistance to give off the appearance that he actually doesn't know the things that he knows?
Yeah, so like what he did is basically sitting there at the bar like he would normally do, waiting for jobs to come in, but he's playing it safe until he knows exactly what's going on, until he at least has a plan in his head about getting the thing in his head out of his head.
Okay, sure. So I think as you're kind of sitting there, an individual approaches you who he kind of wears this tight leather suit. He almost looks like a swoop ganger, but he pulls up a stool next to yours and sits down and sets a device on the counter. And hits a button on it, and it kind of glows red, and you hear a ringing in your ears. And he says to you, "Well, that was an interesting predicament you got yourself into last week."
You have any business with me? And then just stare him dead in the eyes. And while putting down my drink.
He holds out his hand to shake yours as. I know why you're making your distance from them rebels. Name's Garth. I'm here to help.
Cal, and what do you mean by help? As he shakes his hand.
I think your friends might know. And we'll actually close the session there. Thanks so much for listening to Urban Stars. We'll see you next time, and until then, keep on adventuring.